Welcome to Deer Feet. I'm Jess.
And I'm Renee.
And we're the Deerfoot sisters. We're back.
Yep. We took another short hiatus because Jess was out in Arizona.
Also because we're just really bad at maintaining things and following through.
Yeah, well, we're very busy people.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if we were more committed, we wouldn't have taken so many breaks.
Maybe if we had equipment that was better, we wouldn't have to worry about it taking forever to turn on the computer, so we could record in an hour and a half instead of 3 hours for a 1 hour episode.
Well, most of our episodes are more than an hour, and I don't think that the equipment, I don't think it usually is that bad.
I don't know. Sometimes it's really slow.
But yeah.
What are we talking about this week? You didn't even introduce it.
I know. We're already just talking about how we haven't been doing our podcast.
I know, but so today Tim talked to me and he was like, the Beefy Boys didn't put out a new episode this week, which he asked me earlier in the week, and I'm like, I didn't notice a new episode. And he's like, that's it. It's over for the Beefy Boys. He's like, now I'm just a Deer Feet fan. At least you're consistently inconsistent. I was like, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, did you even notice that we didn't have an episode?
He knew.
Okay. So anyway, today we're back on one of our more popular topics and best love topics, dating,
Woo.
Romance.
Yeah, I've been dating
love.
so much. It's out of control. Just kidding.
If your marriage ended, would you date?
Well, how is my marriage ending? Murder, suicide, or
No. If your marriage was over and you were still alive, regardless of whether or not your husband was.
I don't think I would date. I mean, I would date probably casually, but very much on my own terms. I mostly wouldn't date.
Okay.
I would probably just adopt some kids.
Yeah. Goats or children, human children.
I would probably just become a foster parent. And then not really put any energy into dating, but if someone wanted to take me out for drinks or buy me dinner, I'd be like, okay.
Okay.
But then if they annoyed me, I'd be like, nah.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if they were like, I love you, except I want this one thing about you to change, I'd be like, sorry.
Has anyone ever said that to you?
No, I mean, what possibly could they want me to change about myself? I mean, the only thing they might say is, I love you, but your sister's so annoying. But, not really much I can do about that, so.
They do say that. Okay, fair. Interesting.
But I don't know. I mean, who knows? I feel like I would feel that way. But obviously, if I was a widow or something, I might feel differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. I obviously date a lot. I've been single my whole life, essentially. I was talking with the teacher I was working with, and she was like, I think if me and my husband ever broke up, I just wouldn't date. She's like, I just don't think I could do it.
Because she'd be sad, or
she's like, it's just so. She's like, it's crazy.
It's just exhausting.
Yeah, it's so much work.
It's just not worth it to me. And I would just use all that time. I would just do whatever I want. I would go to the gym every day, and I would just do whatever I wanted. And then, if guys happened to be around, I'd be like, cool.
Sure, but you miss out on something when you're alone, which you don't necessarily
No, but I'm
realize.
saying if I was alone after having been married, because then it's you already had that.
Okay, but what if it happened really soon? God forbid something happened and you were all of a sudden, widowed or something, or you know what I mean? You were all of a sudden single in a year.
So I was
you're still very young.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I really would put effort into it. Maybe.
Yeah. So
who could say?
So for me, it's tough because, I don't know. For a while, I was I want to find someone, but I'm too picky.
Excuse me.
But now I kind of feel I don't even know. I feel I'm just, not even interested in it. But it's I don't know. Maybe I am. It's just, a defense mechanism. I don't know what I'm looking for because I'm on, dating sites. And, it's really hard. Are they trying to get out?
Yeah, should I let them out?
You can let them out.
They're crying.
It's really hard to... They might come up on the table, but that's okay. It's really hard to explain, what exactly I want. Renee's letting the cats out. We had to lock them away. Don't worry, they were with their water and their litter boxes, but we had to lock them away so they didn't eat our food while we were eating lunch.
Yeah, little Simba's got diabetes.
Yeah. He is the diabetes.
Look at this sad little tail.
He's always been smaller than his brother.
Yeah, but they were both huge, and now he looks like a regular sized cat.
Peanut's still huge, though.
Like, he looks like a kid now. I used to think, oh my god, these cats are so massive, and I thought they were just, like, big cats. But actually, they're just, like, regular sized cats now. They were just really fat, I guess.
Peanut's still big, though, I think.
Peanut's big, but not nearly as big as he was.
Did I tell you how Finn...
Simba's, like, the size of Reggie, but Reggie's just got more floof. Oh, they're very long cats, though. Right? Like, they're very...
Yeah.
They're long.
Like, they're tall if they were standing on two legs like they do in the movie Cats.
Sure.
Hashtag Cass is cats. Did I tell you how on Christmas Finn called Simba Simon?
Simon? Well, like, he does that. So for Christmas, so every time we go to 7-Eleven, which is, like, every day, there's this cute Beanie Boo. It's actually not a Beanie Boo. It's just, like, a Beanie Baby. Oh. But, like, it's called the Beanie Baby Classics.
Oh, okay.
But it's not, like, the, like, floppy Beanie Babies that they used to be.
Does it have beans in it, or...?
No. So it's like a Beanie Boo, but it doesn't have the big eyes.
Okay, that's really weird.
But it's not a Beanie Boo, and it's not a Beanie Baby. It's
so
called
it's just
Beanie
a stuffed
Baby
animal
Classic.
made by Ty.
Yeah.
Okay, or
so,
T-Y. How do you say that?
I say Ty, but...
Okay.
So he used to always be like, it's so cute, but then he'd always want to get, like, Pokemon cards instead of getting the little French Bulldog. So I was like, okay, so for Christmas, he got it in his stocking, and its name is Marcel. Like...
Yeah.
But he calls it Mackerel.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was like, oh, you brought Marcel? He's like, his name's Markle. And I was like, Markle? He's like, I mean Mackerel. And I'm like, such a weird name for a dog, but okay. So that's his dog, Mackerel.
Yeah, he was like, his name was Mackerel. And I was like, oh. And then I saw the tag, and I was like, oh, it's really Marcel, because he's, like, French.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so funny.
So, yeah, he's Mackerel.
Yeah, so on Christmas, he got some great stuff. His Uncle Joe gave him, like, a video game he liked. And then Nana Emily gave him an invisibility cloak. Did he ever get the app to work?
I think they, like, got the app, but I don't know if they actually ever made a video. I'll have to ask him.
So he was, like, wearing the cloak, and then we were playing Trivial Pursuit, which takes a really long time. So I think I feel like Kay went to sleep, and, like, Lorelai and TJ went to sleep. I was, like, 10-something, and I was like, let me just go tell Finn, like, we're almost done. So I went downstairs, and he was just, like, lounging and, like, wearing his invisibility cloak and, like, playing his game.
Yeah.
And then when we came back up, he was like, bye, Simon. I was like, his name's Simba. He's like, I mean Simba.
He's, like, looking out. You want to go out in the snow, Sim?
He's like, don't talk to me.
What'd you get him for Valentine's Day? We let me cover his ears.
Nothing.
Wow,
Yeah, Simba's my
Valentine
Valentine. And he sent me a card one year. So hilarious.
How hilarious. Tell more about how funny it was.
It was really funny. I was, like, cracking up.
Yeah, because I found a card that was, like, 2 cats, and they look very much like Simba. He's an orange cat. And there was something like, you're
Orange
perfect, or whatever. So I, like, sent that to Jess from Simba. I signed it with, like, a little paw print.
And she even, like, wrote it from this address. Oh my gosh.
His whiskers are so weird looking.
On the one side, his whiskers, like, curled.
Yeah, like, is it... I was like, is there something in his whisker?
It's, like, broken.
It's just, like, messed up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's so
Anyway.
creepy when Reggers whiskeys fall out. When his whiskers fell out. Like, they don't fall out very often, but they're just so long. It's like... So his one whisker fell out, and I was like, ew, gross. It was, like, in the bed. And now, like, the one whisker on one side's, like, so short. Because I guess it's, like, getting replaced. But I was like, that looks stupid. You have, like, 5 super long whiskers and then one, like, really short one. It's really weird.
Hurtful.
Cats are weird.
That was the chair. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so, yeah, so I don't know, like, for me, it's hard to, like, explain what I'm looking for, because I always want to say, like, it's casual, or, I don't know, it's, like, a pseudo-relationship, sort of.
And I feel like, because I think what you want, it's capable, you are capable, and it's possible to have, but I don't think you can, like, say it up front. Because it sounds, like, really weird when you're like, I just want someone who's, like, committed to me, but it's not, like, a committed relationship, but they're committed to spending time with me. It's like, so basically you want, like, a friend with benefits, pretty much. Like, who's a real friend.
Yeah.
But, like, you can't come out and say that to people up front because they're like, what? It sounds crazy. You have to just, like, let that evolve naturally, I think.
Yeah, well, people always ask. So I'm always just, like, someone cool to spend time with.
I feel like if you're...
That's, like, what I say.
If they ask, you should just say something like, oh, I'm kind of just looking to, like, take things slow and get to know someone.
True. People aren't really into that, though.
Then they're not gonna... Then they're not the kind of person with whom that type of relationship will be possible anyway. So, like...
I mean, that's not necessarily true. I said that to someone the other day. That's not necessarily true, but, like, I get what you're saying. I think today it's, like, people are so scared of... They're just, like, so scared of commitment.
It's just so weird.
And I told you, I do think it is, like, a
and
it's, like,
thing.
Just relax.
Because then they're like, I'm not into labels. And it's like, that's just a way of keeping someone on the back burner. Like, saying you're not into labels just means you're not into commitment. And, like, that just makes you not a good person, I feel like.
I mean, like, yeah, I get it. But, like, I don't know, because I think it doesn't mean you're not into commitment. It means you're not into that specific person.
Right. Well, that's the thing, I guess. It's like, you just need to be honest. But I also feel like so many guys that live in this area, at least from my experiences when I was dating, it's like, I'm like, what are you waiting for? Like, who are you looking for? Because, like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I had a lot to offer as, like, a single person back when I was, you know, and I'm like, and I would date guys who were, like, not, like, the most impressive. Like, some of them were kind of losers. So I'm like, really, like, what are you waiting for that you think is going to be better than what I'm offering you?
But who are you thinking of? You can say their name in a weird way or give a hint about them if you don't want to say who they are.
I don't know. Like, a lot of the guys I dated, like, Joe. I mean, not Joe. Why did I say that? Joe was kind of into me right away.
The guy from Kentucky.
But, like, Chris. That guy I dated, Peter, who then, like, hooked up with his, like, friend's sister. And then, like, felt, like, obligated to date her, which was,
like,
he
stupid. Was he, like, the pilot? Or?
No, that guy was, like, really nice, actually. His name was Alan Thomas.
Don't say their
well,
names.
It's just funny because it's, like, Alan Thomas is, like, our family friend who's crazy. So it's, like, would have been funny if we dated. Anyway, so we went on, like, a date. Remember we went to the Colorado Cafe?
Yes.
And it was, like, really nice. And then he, like, went away that weekend. And he was, like, doing some self-reflection in the woods.
Yeah.
Basically. And then he was, like, saying he didn't think, like, he was in the right place to, like, date me. And I was like, okay. And I was like, listen, like, really, like, no hard feelings, but can you just, like, could you give me some constructive feedback? Like, I'm not trying to be weird about it, but I just want to know because I, like, thought things were going really well. And he was basically like, honestly, you're so great. He's like, you're really cool. It's just, like, I'm not in the right place for it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and, like...
I was like, damn, he was an airline pilot. That would have been so sweet.
Yeah, it really would have. And he was, like, really cool, and you guys got along really well, because, like, you guys went out, and then you, like, went to the Colorado Cafe, or did you, like, meet at
No, we met at the Colorado.
Okay, and then I went out with someone who I had gone out with a couple of times, and we met you guys after dinner.
Right.
And...
It's like we were dancing,
and then he went over to, like... the guy I was with and was like, he said something like, the guy told me, he said something like, oh, we're a couple of really lucky guys, aren't we? Like, I think he was, like, really genuine.
Yeah, he seemed nice, and, like, I think it was just, like, and that's something else I heard from this guy once was telling me, like, I think you just, like, put your heart out there so open that, like, people are, like, overwhelmed and scared, and I'm like, okay, I guess. Which is, like, fine.
Just the way he's, like, looking over
like,
here.
Watching us while he sits by the bed. I've never really seen them on the counters before.
I don't think you're supposed to go up there, but
I'll skedaddle him.
Okay, I was like, he's far away. There you go, Simba. Don't be...
What are you crying about,
Don't
Peanut?
be silly. They both get hungry now that they're on this diet.
I know, like, why does Peanut have to suffer? I mean, I guess he probably was, like...
He's probably a big boy, too.
Yeah. Borderline.
Plus, Simba is, like, a bully.
Oh,
so, like, when they eat, I have to...
food?
I have to watch them, and then when Simba's done, I have to bring him upstairs and let Peanut finish. Because Simba will, like, kick him out.
Aw, that's mean.
And it's weird, because I guess... I don't know. I guess they have, like, a hierarchy, because I've seen him do it because the one day I was like filling the litter while Simba finished, and he doesn't like swat or anything. He just kind of like looks over, and then Peanut like runs away, and then Simba goes and eats his food, and then Peanut just like watches him eating his food, and I'm like, Simba, it's not yours.
So,
so yeah, I think like yes, it could be that. I think also that the guys are just like they're just not ready. Like it's nothing. It is sometimes not anything to do with you. It's just that they're like not ready to like have. Like they
right, like I think it's like they meet you and they're like, oh my god, that girl's like amazing, she could be the one, and they're like, I'm not ready for that, and then they like get this weird like scared like thing in their head, like they think I'm gonna ask to marry them the next day, and I'm like, okay, we could have just dated, but like it's fine. Like you can just
even if you did, like someone could be together for a long time and being like, I want to get married, and the other person could be like, I'm not ready, and they could still stay together for a while and eventually get married and be happy. Because it's like, or they could break up, but they still would have had a good time.
Know the guy. It'd be like 1 or 2 dates, and then they would like do that. And then remember that guy Ricardo I went out with, and like the same thing happened. We went on like 3 really nice dates, and he seemed like really into me. Like he was all,
the
like,
one who said if his wife gained weight?
No, that was Armando.
Okay,
he was a doctor. Ricardo was, I don't know what he did. He like was this car salesman or something. He was still like in school.
But didn't he live in the city too?
No, he lived like near. He came to me. I don't know where he lived. So we like went out on a couple really nice dates, and like he like texted me. He's like, oh, you know, I just like, you were so beautiful in like your profile pictures, and like after I met you, I couldn't even believe you were even more gorgeous in person, and like it was so perfect, and like all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. And we went on like a few dates, and it was like really nice, and then he completely ghosted me, and I was like, okay, like I got the hint, and then like 2 months later or something, I think I like drunk texted him like, hey, I'm just wondering like why you ghosted me, and he was like, I'm so glad you reached out to me. He's like, I like thought you were so awesome, and then I got really scared, and then I didn't call you, and then it was like too late, and I couldn't call you, and I didn't know what to do, and I thought you would hate me forever. So then he like asked if we could go out again, and we like did, but then he like got a job offer like out west somewhere, so he was moving to like Arizona or Utah or something. And I was like,
it would have been cool if you guys had reconnected and actually started dating, but alas.
I mean, like, so we went on like a date, but then he got that job offer, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like move across the country for you. Maybe if we dated the whole time.
Simba,
what's even in there?
It's like his food, or it's probably like my dirty knife.
Stop it. Stop. You're gonna get garbage disposal. Yeah, it was your knife. You are a hungry kitty.
Oh, Simba. You have to go back downstairs now.
You're just trying to eat like a sun-dried tomato. No, you're so hungry. Why are you so hungry?
Oh, actually, she said I could feed them a little bit extra in the middle of the day. Well, they're going to eat in like 4 hours. They're probably okay.
There you go. Just sit here and be nice. These cats actually let you pet them. Like, Reggie dodges my pets like how a 10-year-old dodges kisses from his mom. Like, I go to reach out to pet him, she's like, what? And just, like, sidesteps me. I'm like, really? Like, can I just pet you? That's why I got you, you stupid jerk.
Does he ever snuggle?
Sometimes. Like, very rarely. Or he'll, like, come and sit on the couch, like, next to you. But then if you, like, try to get too petty, he'll, like, stand up and walk 2 steps over further and sit down again. I'm like, okay. You just want to be, like, near me, but not actually touching me.
Strange.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. Okay, bye. But these cats shed like crazy.
I know. Yesterday I was wearing this shirt, this jacket, and black leggings. Oh, he's going to go up there again.
Simba, no.
And I was, like, covered in cat hair. I looked like a cat.
Well, that's, like, the one time we came over here. I think it was right before my wedding. So it was, like, right after Dad had died, or, yeah, I think it was, like, right after he died. And I came here one day, and I was wearing a black t-shirt, so I intentionally didn't pick up any of the cats because I was like, I know they shed like crazy. And then as I'm leaving, I look down and I'm like completely covered in cat hair, and I was like, oh my god, how did I get so much cat hair on me? I know that I didn't touch any of the cats, but it was because our aunt's mom, who had been here, had given me a really big hug, and she'd had like cat hair all over her. So she was like, I'm so sorry, it must have been me. I was like, no, it's really fine. I was just like confused because I'm like, I know I didn't touch the cats. There's no way there's like this much hair just floating around. So then she got a lint brush and brushed me off, and I was like, oh, thank you.
That's funny.
It was just so funny because I'm like, I was literally like, how did this happen? I didn't even touch them. And she's like, it was me. I was like, oh, it's really fine. Like, it was a very nice hug. The cat hair was a fine collateral damage.
Much needed and deserved.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes I think, like, I might be too picky.
Well, you're definitely too picky. But also you meet a lot of weirdos. Like, real weirdos.
But like, I guess.
You're too picky, and I think it's like I said, you're just a little too forthright. You need to just, like, let things naturally progress. You need to have lower expectations.
I guess.
Like, basically no expectations at all.
But I mean, like, most people, and, like, yeah, I guess, like, something could develop, but, like, most people, I don't really think of, like, having a real future with them.
Yeah, but
so
do you
I kind
need,
of
like,
don't
a
care.
future?
Well, whatever, then who cares?
Yeah, I guess. But, I don't know. I mean, it's whatever. Do whatever makes you somewhat happy.
Like, I met that one guy, whatever, Ryan, and we got along really well, and it was, like, nice because we would, like, talk so much, and every time we, like, learned something new, it was, like, we just vibed so well, and, like, we had very similar values and stuff.
Yep.
I definitely feel like whatever happened there, like, that was weird because it was just, like, so out of the blue, and, like, it was a really strange way because basically we talked for, like, a week, we met up, we had a good time, we talked later that night. It seemed like he was genuinely still interested. Then he got weird, like, a couple days later, canceled when we were supposed to meet again. 2 days later, made dinner plans with me, and then for 2 hours later, and then never met me for dinner, and just ghosted me, which was, like, I'm like, why'd you even make the dinner plans?
Yeah, that I don't understand.
That was so bizarre.
And it's so weird.
And he's not dead, okay?
I guess if you're a man to whom a woman has ever done something like that to you, like, I would like to hear about it. Because I feel like it's such a man thing that happens. And
True.
I guess there's, like, girls who are flaky and weird like that, too, or who, like, seem super into you and then totally ghost you. But, like, obviously I don't have that experience because I don't date women. But, like...
Right, and that's the thing.
I wonder if that is, like, something that men experience. Like, is it equal on both sides? Or do men just do it?
Exactly. And it's, like, it's, like, one thing if it was just, like, whatever, or kind of fizzled out, or if, like, you could kind of tell from the beginning or tell after the date that they, like, weren't that interested.
Right.
Because, like, I've definitely done that where, like, I have essentially ghosted people, but, like, not really intentionally. Usually I just see their message and I'm just thinking, like, oh, okay. And I just don't respond. Like, I'm like, eh.
But you wouldn't make plans to see someone and then just not go or ever say anything about it.
Oh, right.
Like,
exactly.
Especially if you're making them for the same day.
Even if I wanted to cancel, like, I didn't want to see them, I would cancel. And I've made up lies about why I can't go.
Right.
But, like, I wouldn't just not say anything. That's so, like, rude.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's really weird. But I do think, like, I feel like with him, it's probably a similar, like, he was just, like, scared because we were talking for, like, probably 5 days. And we would, like, talk on the phone. We would text. We talked a lot. And then he said to me something like, oh, I hope this isn't too forward, but I really, really like talking to you. And I was like...
That's really forward. You want to back up on it.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, you're obviously, like, scared of getting close. Even though he was like, I'm 32. I really want to settle down. And I was like, he was like, would you be interested in a relationship or only something casual? Because, like, I want to settle down. And I was like, oh, well, I'm, like, open to it if it, like, develops that way. But I kind of just more expect that, like, I won't find someone that I'm, like, that interested in, so...
Yeah, that's, like, it's so weird. Like, yeah, when guys have, like, a fear of commitment when they're, like, in their 30s. And I'm like...
When he was the one who was, like, pushing that more.
Get married and have a family, like, why are you afraid? And it's just weird when they're so scared, like, right at the beginning stages. Because I'm like, you don't even know, first of all, if I even want to be with you.
Right.
And, like, secondly, if it will pan out. Like, I feel like a lot of times you have to date someone for, like, 3 months. And then you kind of, like, I feel like after 3 months, there's, like, a good sort of, like, deciding whether you actually want to commit or not.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why after, like, 2 dates are you, like, envisioning this whole thing in your mind that you've made up of, like, us being married, and for some reason you don't like that idea because you like me too much? Like, that's just so stupid.
Yeah, it's
it makes
really
no
weird.
sense. I don't understand at all, but I'm glad I don't have to deal with it.
So now, like, I always just... Also, like, when I go out with people, like, I always offer to, like, I tell them ahead of time, like, we can just pay for ourselves. Because I know that that's, like, a thing, too. That sometimes they're like, oh, if I don't like you enough, I don't want to keep, like, buying you dinner and stuff. Which I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I
fair.
guess.
Like, I can understand that. Like, if you're, like... Because I know this one guy I went out with, he was weird. He's, like, really cocky, and I feel like he's not that great. But I guess that's kind of like me. But, I don't know. He was like, he was basically married, I guess, and he was going through a divorce. And he was basically saying that, like, it's like, so expensive as a man to, like, date, because you have to, like... It's like, if I go on 3 dates a week, it's like $100, and I'm like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
But
you could go on cheaper dates.
Yeah. But he, like, I don't know, he's really weird. And then we saw each other, like, a few years later, because he lives, like, right next to where we live now. So when we first went out, it was when we were living with Mom. And then we hung out, like, while we lived in Wayne. Mm-hmm. And then, whatever, like, 2 or 3 years passed. And we connected again, and we hung out last year. And he had told me that he had been dating someone for a while, like, at some point in between there. Mm-hmm. And they were getting maybe they were, like, engaged, which is, like, pretty serious. But they broke up because her family, she was, like, too into her family. And I was like, that's
oh, God.
weird.
Like, what? They had incest going on?
Like, she was, like, too close. No, I guess she was just, like, too close with her family. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, we would, like, never work out because...
Yeah. Like, you're into your family a lot.
Like, why? That's so weird to me that that's, like, a red flag. Like
the
guy...
Ew, she's got good, strong family values.
Yeah.
No thanks. Like, okay.
Like, the guy that I went to the Colorado Cafe with you, red flags for me with him... were that he was estranged from his family because his ex-wife basically got into some kind of, like, argument with his sister-in-law. Mm-hmm. And because of that, he, like, didn't see his family for, like, 8 years. Yeah. And he had a kid, and his kid had never met his family. And I was like, that's a huge red flag. Like, yeah. I was like, I can't even... imagine that.
I mean, unless the family was, like, super abusive or something, like, yeah, it seems really weird.
Well, you kind of had a similar experience. You kind of helped forge, I mean, your husband was estranged from his father.
I thought even I was, like, estranged from my family, and I'm like, when did this happen?
But he was, like, estranged from his father.
Yeah, they were estranged.
And seemingly for nothing, like, super serious.
And, I mean, for such a long time.
But you're just a more forgiving person than I am. I'm a forgiving person. I'm just very picky when it comes to someone I would be willing to be with romantically. Is what I mean.
Right. I mean, yeah, and it's not like my husband was completely estranged from his entire family.
No, right. Just one member, I guess.
Yeah, so. Yeah, his dad was, like, texting me yesterday. He's, like, in Mexico on vacation. Nice. And then he's like, wait, shouldn't you be in school? I was like, yeah, my kids are doing, like, a student-centered project, so, like, it's fine. I was like, they're building fault block models, and he was, like, asking me about them, and I, like, sent him a picture, and it was just funny. He's like, since I'm retired, I always forget that other people have jobs, and I was like, yeah, 35 more years for me till I can retire. He's like, you'll make it. I'm happy for you. And I was like, thanks? Like, it was weird. I was like, thanks? So you're happy that I have to retire in 35 years? But it was nice.
Well, a lot of people can't even retire at 65, so.
I mean, who knows if I can. Tim's like, I don't even think retirement's a thing anymore like it used to be. And I'm like, I feel like people can retire, but, like, also a lot of people retire and then just, like, die, so.
But when you're a teacher, doesn't the way it work is that your pension, like, you still get your salary for the rest of your life?
It's not your full salary. Oh. It's, like, a percentage. But, yeah, but the thing is, for teachers, like, a lot of my coworkers are tier 1 teachers, so they can retire at 55. Yeah. But I started at such a time where you have to be 65 when you retire. So.
Okay, so.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. If I started, like, 5 years earlier, I could have retired at 55, but now I have to wait till I'm 65. You wouldn't have,
okay. So they might change it that people have to retire when they're 75. I mean,
yeah,
those people also might not live that long. You might have the same retirement years.
It doesn't matter that they can retire earlier. I'm just saying it's a bummer that I missed out on that because it was, like, literally, like, only a few years before I started teaching that they changed it. So I was like, darn, if only I hadn't gone to college for 6 years.
Okay.
Well, but no, it was, like, a little before that, so.
Fair.
But still, whatever. 65 is still pretty young.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about it. But when you say it like that, like, oh yeah, 35 more years till I can retire, I'm like, okay, that makes it sound like a long time, which is good, because it's good to, like, have a lot of life left. But still.
It's a good job, too, because it's always, every year it's a little different.
And honestly, like, there are days when I'm at work and I'm like, I can't even believe, like, I get paid to do this. Like, some days are obviously harder than others, and sometimes there's a lot more work than others, and there's you need obviously a certain type of personality to cope with the different challenges that you face as a teacher. So it's not like, oh, this is easy for everyone.
Right.
But there are some days where I'm like, this is so easy. But then I'm like, some days I'm like, this is so hard. So
yeah, some of it's really hard, but some of it's really easy. And obviously we have, like, the certain personality that's good at, like, have certain aspects that are easier that some people really struggle with.
Right. And, like, these last 2 years, I've just had, like, pretty good kids. So I'm like, it's just nice. Like,
you also might just be getting better at building rapport.
That's true. That's true. Because I also just, like, don't care. It's not that I don't care, but, like, I was talking to some of my students about, like, some other teachers in the school. Well, like, they're always, like, bad-mouthing teachers, and I'm trying to always, like, play devil's advocate and set them straight. But we were talking about how some teachers have, like, such a power trip about things, and I'm like, in reality, like, it's not that important. Like, I'm not trying to say school's not important, but, like, if you're going through, like, a mental health crisis, that's more important.
Yeah.
Like, that just is. Like, fundamentally, you not, like, injuring yourself or committing suicide is more important than environmental science.
Yeah, true.
So, like, if that means that I can have to excuse you from some assignments so you don't get overwhelmed, like, I'm fine with that. But there's some teachers who are such a stickler, and I'm like, what are you gaining from this? Like, realistically.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my philosophy.
I agree. It's whatever. Like, we had this one sub, and she was, like, freaking out because the teacher I work with would just put, like, my student teacher has the plans or whatever. Yeah. And she was, like, freaking out. And then I realized she thought homeroom was, like, the class, and she was like, why aren't you giving them the quiz? I was like, no, this isn't our students. Like, calm down. But anyway, so then after, like, the first period or whatever, then she was a lot more calm. Then, like, we weren't together for, like, second period or lunch, and then at third she was, like, saying how she thought I was really good, and, like, or then after I taught during third period, she was, like, saying how I'll make a great teacher, and just the way I talk, she can tell, and, like, some student teachers are really bad, but, like, she can tell I'll be really good. And she was like, and just, like, your relationship with the kids is really good. And I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. I know, I wish I could, I guess I need to, like, observe more student teachers to be like, oh yeah, you're really bad. I mean, I guess, like, I definitely had some really bad teachers, like, when I was in high school. So you can know there's just some people who are really not good at teaching. But
yeah, it's hard to know. I know. Anyway, so what are some of your, like, dating pet peeves?
Dating pet peeves. Well, I don't know. It's been a while since I've been dating.
It hasn't been that long.
I've been with my husband for 5 years.
So?
It's a pretty long time.
That's 5 years, Renee. You just said you had some pretty bad teachers. You haven't been in school in the past 5 years, but you remember the teachers you had? Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, it's been a long time.
Fine, we're skipping it because we already talked about it once.
So
if you're wondering about our dating pet peeves, go back to episode 2.
I think some of my dating pet peeves are definitely, like we said before, just, like, flakiness and non-commitment. Mm-hmm. That just, like, annoyed me so much, because then I would feel like I would be going crazy. Whereas I'm, like, I'm, like, really not a needy person emotionally. Mm-hmm. So, like, when I was dating that doctor, for example, it's, like, I would go crazy because he would always say, like, oh, maybe this day. And I'm, like, if you can just give me a concrete day, even if that day is 2.5 weeks away,
yeah,
then I'll at least know, and I won't have to keep asking you.
Right.
You know, because, like, if you are always just like, oh, maybe, then I'm always asking, and then I feel like an a-hole for being, like, you always saying no. But I'm like, if you were like, oh, I can do it, like, on the third Thursday of the month, I'd be like, all right. And then we could just chat casually, and then I would know that's the day that's coming up. Then if you canceled on that, that would be a problem. But, like,
right,
that's, like, what would drive me crazy.
Yeah, that people really do like to keep things, like, tentative.
I know, it's so annoying. And then, like, obviously, like, we're busy people, so then they'll be like, oh, you're always so busy. And I'm like, yeah, but if you made plans with me, then you would be my plan. But when you don't make plans with me, then I already have plans. So, like, pretty much I'm going to do something every night. If you want to be one of the things, schedule at least a week in advance. Like,
yeah.
You know?
True.
They're so annoying.
It's like, don't wait until the last minute and expect me to just, like, be available or whatever.
What's your dating pet peeve?
I mean, that's, like, one of it. Yeah.
Like, is there anything that's happened in the dating scene in the last, like, 5 years that I'm not, aware of? That's, like, really annoying. Any new dating trends?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's pretty much the same as it's been.
Well, like, do you think anybody meets people not online anymore?
Yeah.
Do they, though?
I mean, I met someone.
At, like, a conference or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People do. People meet in person.
But, like, that would actually date or just, like, for hookups?
Yeah, I think both. I'm sure people still meet in college.
Well, yeah, like, college and jobs,
and
I
at
guess.
work, yeah.
But then I feel like so many jobs, like, have, like, no dating policies. That's, like...
I feel like people date anyway. But then people also probably... I think people meet, like, at the gym and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's where all affairs happen.
I think people definitely still meet in person. Like, I've met people... Yeah, a lot of times at a bar, it's, like, a hookup. But, like, it could develop into more. Just depends.
I guess that's true.
And also, like, a lot of times when I meet someone in that situation, I then, like, don't feel like giving them another chance because it was, like, meh. So I'm kind of like...
Oh.
Even though I do feel like in that sense, if the more time you spend with someone and continue that kind of relationship, it usually gets better. But sometimes if it's not, like, as satisfying as I want it to be the first time, I'm just kind of like...
And it's so weird. Like, I haven't had a lot of relationships like this, but I've definitely had at least one relationship where, like, I wasn't that into it at the beginning. And I was, like, kind of just very much like, whatever. And then, like, just over some, like, short amount of time, like, the feelings change. Yeah. You know, and then you, like, really get invested. And you're like, wow, that was surprising. Like, I never thought I would care about this person, but now, like, I really do. So I guess, like, that's something you can remind yourself of when you... If you ever go on, like, a mad date, you can always give them another chance. Because sometimes it really does change. Like, it's not always, but sometimes you're, like... And I don't even know, like, what it was. It's not like one thing happened that I was like, oh, my God, this guy, like, defended me from a robber, and he's so strong, and now I love him.
No, it's
like,
just, like,
it's just, like, something develops, and you're like,
right.
Oh, okay. Not everything is a spark right away.
Not even that. It's more... Yeah, I get what you're saying. But, I mean, if it's going to be a casual thing... and the casual thing isn't that good, then you're kind of like, why am I even bothering?
Yeah. That's true, I guess.
Also, I feel like as I'm getting older, if this is even possible, I'm a lot more picky about, like, who I go on dates with, because to get ready and to, like, go on a date is, like, so much work.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
And I, like, don't really ever wear makeup or wear my hair in anything other than these braids. So, like...
Yeah, well, it's, like, really wild right now.
Well, yeah, because this is my
like,
braid from yesterday.
Not parted, so it's like you have a
it's
little
gray.
Like a little mullet in the
crazy. Anyway,
yeah,
so,
no, I get it. It's not like you can just go
ready,
right after work and be like, oh, let's meet up. You're like... It takes, like, at least an hour to get ready.
Yeah, so, like, to do that and then to, like, even just to go out and, like, whatever, it's, like... So much
And then,
work.
like, when you're going on a first date and you're just having the same stupid conversation with, like, everybody. And I'm like, this is so dumb.
And first dates are so awkward. And, like, everybody wants to get coffee. And, like, I hate getting coffee as a first date. I find it to be, like,
Why?
so awkward. I don't know. Because it's, like, you get coffee. And then let's say you, like, really like each other. You could sit in the coffee shop. Because, like, when you go to, like, a Starbucks or something, like... No one comes and checks on you. And you could be sitting there. Like, I've literally gone to Starbucks for, like... 10 hours.
Yeah, I read an article once about a guy who went there, like, all day and he didn't even buy anything because he was, like, testing out the policy of, like...
Yeah.
And nobody bothered him.
They don't care. That's, like, the Starbucks way. So you could go, you could sit down, and you could be talking. And it's, like, kind of just, like, you never know when to, like, leave. I kind of prefer just, like... I prefer getting a meal because it's, like... They bring you your check, and that's when you leave. Although, I did go out with a guy relatively recently, and we got dinner, and then... I was thinking we would leave when the check came, and he was like, oh, we can just, like, talk. And then we, like, ended up talking until, like, essentially I was like, I think they, like, want to close now. Because I was like, it was a little weird that we kept talking there, but I guess he just, like, wanted to keep talking.
Yeah.
And he drove, like, from the city, so I was like, well, I feel kind of bad that you, like, drove so far, and for us, our date to only be, like, an hour.
Coffee or, like, drinks is a fine, like, first meeting date.
And then drinks, I feel like, to me, always just leads to, like, drunken hookups.
Well, yeah, if you're, like, crazy about how much you drink and can't hold your liquor.
No,
you have to take
you have the
one drink
perfect
and
amount,
really
like
slowly.
2 or 3 drinks, And then you have the perfect buzz for, like, a wildly fun night.
Or you leave.
I guess.
See, that's the thing. It's like, even when you have one of those really great dates, you, like, told me this, and it worked with Tim, you have to leave him wanting more. So if it's going great, you have to stop and cut it short. Yeah. So then they want to come back. But if it's going great and then you have one of those, like, marathon 8-hour dates, then, like, guess what? You could have had 4 2-hour dates.
Yeah.
You know? Which is a good amount of time. So it's like,
True.
if you end it on a high note, then they'll most likely want to see you again.
That's another reason why I like to have dinner. Because it's like, if you're having drinks or coffee, there's not, like, a good excuse to leave. You have to,
you could have coffee and then be like, oh, I have to go do whatever. Like, feed my
True,
cat.
I guess every time you go on a date, you should just, like,
have a plan of when you're leaving.
I did hear that from one of those, like, you know, those, like, British guys who always are like, this is why men leave you. And they're, like, always, like,
you
Facebook.
mean, like, Jay Shetty or whatever?
Yeah, whatever. And there's, like, another guy. David or something. I don't know. But, yeah.
And the videos are, like, so dramatic. And
that's why I sent you that one. It was, like, so stupid.
I didn't watch it.
The acting is so bad. And it's,
Yeah.
like, it makes me look like a fabulous actor.
Well.
It's, like, really bad.
Yeah, they're so funny. But, yeah, so he was saying that.
He was saying, or I read it in, like, a Cosmo or something. And it was saying, like, let's say you have a one-night stand. Or you have, like, a hookup. And the next morning, and it was really great. And you think you might extend it. The next morning, you basically, it was saying, say something like, oh, I have to go at this point. Like, say you have something to do and tell them, like, at what point you have to leave. Because then you can actually have, like, a nice morning together instead of it being, like, them thinking, okay, what is this person going to get out of my house?
Right.
Yeah. So it was, like, saying something like being like, what do you have planned for the day? I have to definitely go by 10. And then if they were like, oh, okay, nothing, you know, or I have to leave now, get out of my house, you know.
Right.
So stuff like that.
Yeah. So
they also said that you should text. This was another one. If you were out somewhere and you wanted a guy to come or whoever, you should say, oh, I'm out doing this, you should come. I've used that before.
Yeah.
Worked once.
How many times have you used it?
I don't know, maybe a couple.
Oh.
The one time that it worked, it was awkward because I was, like, about to leave with someone else, and then the guy showed up, and I was like,
because you always do that.
Never mind. He didn't say he was gonna come. He was like, I don't know, maybe, and then it was like 4 hours later he just showed up, and I was like, okay, maybe next time, like, tell me.
That reminds me of that Miranda Lambert song, "Guilty in Here."
Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, so it's, like, weird to figure out. This episode's gonna be so freaking long.
Okay, just move on to what's next.
We're only on part 1 though, and I was gonna, like, talk about this, but then I'm thinking,
well, we can save it for tomorrow.
A 2-parter.
Yeah.
Okay, so
2 parts of one heart.
Anyway, so
really, your heart has, like, 4 main parts, but
so
you're
there's
my left ventricle.
Cool. So.
Except you're not, because you're a jerk. You're more like a blood clot.
Oh my gosh.
Can
Blood clots are so interesting. I'm not farting. It's my bench. Anyway, so another thing that's tricky is, like, figuring out why. Like, we said, like, there's times where you get ghosted, or, like, you have to try to figure out, like, why someone wants to break up with you. But even when you, like, break up with someone and they tell you, like, I don't want to see you anymore, or, like, whatever, sometimes it's still a mystery. Because people are, like, not very good at communicating.
I'm trying to think, like, when I've really been broken up with.
You mostly do the leaving? Or it's, like, mutual?
I feel like since my first, like, long-term boyfriend, Paul, I've pretty much broken up with all my boyfriends.
Well, Tyler broke up with you.
Yeah. But other than that, I've pretty much broken up with everyone. Except Freddie and I never broke up,
Zach
so we're
broke
still
up with
technically
you.
dating. Yeah, but we weren't really dating. We dated for, like, a day.
But, I mean, I'm just saying ending it. Like, so I wanted to talk about this one specific scenario that I was in with this guy that we're going to call Gene.
Gene.
There was a reason.
Some names have been changed. Wait, is it Gene, like, Jean or Gene?
No. Gene.
Okay. Eugene.
Yes. Anyway, so we like, connected over, like, Tinder, I think, or something in the summer.
This past summer, 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
And we, this podcast is named after him, actually. Because when we, okay.
I was like, deer feed? You mean this episode?
This episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's not. It's not called that. I'm like, do we call this podcast The Gene Show? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. Okay. So this episode is named for him.
Yes. So, anyway.
Or possibly these episodes.
True. So, basically, we met over Tinder in the summer. And I think we must have, like, messaged back and forth for, like, a little while. Maybe, like, a week or something.
Okay.
And then I asked if he wanted to call me because I always like talk on the phone before I meet someone. So he calls me one night and we had like a really nice conversation and we were like really getting along and it was really nice. I think it was when my roommates were on vacation. So I was home alone. So then he was like, oh, if it wouldn't be weird, he's like, I'd come over, or he's like, he said something like that. Like, oh, I hope it would be weird if I like came over. And I was like, no, that would be nice.
Yeah.
So he comes over and he immediately just like pounces on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, like I really just wasn't like, I get that it was like 3 a.m. or whatever. It was like midnight maybe. Like I get that it was like late at night and like the implication, but we weren't having any kind of conversation like that. And I really personally was thinking he would just come over and we would like talk.
Right.
But he was just like,
you're so naive.
Anyway, so I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know this was going to happen or whatever.
Yeah.
We did a few things, nothing too major.
We don't need the details.
Whatever.
I'm sure I've heard them before.
I said we did a few things, nothing too major, and that's all I was going to say.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, so.
You know, I think you were wearing that same shirt 1 year ago today. Sorry, just to say. It was in my Facebook memories.
Oh, okay.
I
was
love that
like,
shirt. Actually,
yeah.
It was like 3 years ago when we were in Florida.
I pretty much will wear this shirt like every day.
Nice. Okay,
I have
anyway.
a bunch of these. Anyway.
You're like a cartoon character's closet. You just have like a
I
hundred
really
of that
do.
shirt.
I really do, though. I think I have like 4 of them. But they're just so comfy and like perfect for this time of year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I was kind of like meh about the whole situation. So
you were like, oh, he's just into this casual hookup thing?
No, I was just kind of like, I didn't think he was like a very good kisser, to be honest.
Oh, so you just were like not impressed with his prowess?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, yeah.
All right.
And also I felt like, see, I didn't really want to say this. Well, anyway, there were other reasons too. I'll tell you later. So anyway, so then we still were like texting and stuff, and like he said, and then I guess like I was talking about I was talking about some guys I had met online or something.
Why?
That's like a common thing that you say. It's like, what's the weirdest person you've ever met? Like off these dating sites.
Okay, I thought you meant like you were just talking about guys you were dating at the same time
your
as him.
face, you were like, why?
Well, because you're like, I don't know why things didn't work out. We were talking about all the guys I did off Tinder.
No.
Okay, well, maybe that's why.
We were talking about interesting people.
Okay, so you were talking about previous.
Yeah, and then he was like, I didn't really like how you were like talking about that. And I was like, oh.
So I guess I was right.
He was like, I don't know what you'll say about me. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, like, full disclosure, every girl tells all her girlfriends about, like, her experiences. So I'm sure you've been talked about before. Like,
yeah. Unless you date people who have 0 friends.
Right. So anyway, so then he did, like, listen to the podcast sometimes. And he was always, like, super worried that we were going to be talking about him. So that's why we named this podcast We Are Talking About You, or whatever we named it. But anyway, so I was kind of like meh about it. He was like saying how we had nothing in common, and I was like, okay, like we don't have to hang out, like whatever. Like
What about breakfast at Tiffany's?
I was just kind of like, okay, like whatever.
Yeah, so he was like making it a thing, and you're like, this isn't.
And then he was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I mean, I think it's a little weird that if you feel like, I was like, you can still like be friends with people who don't have like the same exact interests as you, as long as you like have similar values and like a similar sense of humor or something. Like,
right, like we talked about how Tim and I like don't really have a lot in common. Like we do not watch the same TV shows. We watch like a few shows.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he hates like crime procedurals, which is like the majority of what I watch. And we don't listen to any of the same music.
Yeah.
And like I've read some of the authors that he likes, and they're a little graphic for my tastes. He plays video games. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
But, like, it's fine.
Right, exactly. So I was like, so then he was like, oh, okay. So then I was like, yeah, like, we could still hang out. So then we decided to still hang out. So we, like, hung out a few more times. And then it just became, like, a nice regular thing. And it was, like, kind of like you said. Like, I basically ended up being really into it. And, like,
yeah,
it kind of developed. But it's, like... He was so upfront about, well, like, I was like, I don't need it to be serious. And he was, like, very much like, I don't want anything serious. He's like, I don't think I'll ever want anything serious with anybody. And he was like, I don't want to hold you back from, like, meeting someone. And I was like, I'm fine with it. I was like, this is perfect. I was like, this is exactly what I want. Like, someone that I just like to hang out with, that I really get along with, who I enjoy having, like, fun with in this way, whatever. And it wasn't even, like, he had a lot of, like, social anxiety. So he, like, never, like, he was, like, really, I think, trying really hard to work up to coming to trivia.
Right.
But, I mean, like, we were probably seeing each other for, like, I want to say, like, a month and a half or almost 2 months. And, like, regularly we were seeing each other, like, a couple times a week. And... So he had, like, many opportunities to come to trivia.
Right.
So it's not like he was like, oh, we saw each other for 2 weeks, you know. There were a lot of times.
That's probably, like, 8 trivias.
Yeah.
Or, like, 6 trivias and 2 feud nights.
Yeah, that he... So I think, like, he was really trying, but he just had to, like, work himself up to it. And, like, other things where I was like, yeah, this would probably never work as, like, a relationship. Like, how could I date someone if
because you're like, all my friends think you're imaginary.
Well, no, my roommates knew him. Roommates / best friends. Anyway, so then he just, like, one day said that he needed, like, some time or something before he saw me because he was, like, really going through stuff or having a hard time or something. He said he was having a hard time.
Okay.
And I didn't really know, like, what that meant. Because it's also, like, hard for me. Like, I ultimately just try to be, like, okay. Like, I don't get it, but... I don't say that to someone. I'm just, like, okay. Like, I just try to, like...
Not take it personally.
Be understanding, because I honestly don't get anxiety. So, like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't get why people are like that. So, or, like, what they're feeling. So, I can never really...
You can never know, like, if you can push them... Like, if it's the right thing to do, or if it's, like... Because, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, you can't just, like, back off. You gotta, like, encourage them or whatever. But it's, like, you don't know because I don't know if that's helpful or not. So I would just trust, like, if you're the one who's suffering through it and this is what you say you need, I'm just gonna, like, trust that's what you need because I don't know.
And you, like... And I, like, try and I, like, say different things and try not to be, like, too whatever. Like... Because we were talking about the one girl in our Girl Scout troop who was, like, really struggling with, like... getting along with the other girls because she's kind of weird. And she was being really clingy with this one girl. And I was talking to him about it, and he was like, oh, I just want to, like, coddle her. Or he'd, like, I would just be, like, coddling her, but I feel like she does kind of need to be, like, told to, like, do whatever, because otherwise she'll never, like, learn. So I feel like he did, like...
Yeah.
But maybe it was, like, at that point, he's like, I'm too old now. I have no idea. But he was... I think so he, like, understood what you're saying. Like, you can't just, like, always cater to it, because that will never, like, help it.
Well, like I'm saying, I don't really know. Like, I don't know what the approach is.
They probably have, like, it's called, like, exposure therapy.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, that's definitely the case, but then it's, like, you have to know, like, where the line is of, like, what's pushing someone too hard.
Right.
But, yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. I was like, honestly, like, all I'm really looking... Like, the thing that I seek, I guess, is, like, that intimacy, like, both emotional and physical. So it's, like, that's why it's nice to just be, like, friends with someone that you really get along with, where you can just, like, cuddle and, like...
That's what I'm saying. You just want, like, an actual friends with benefits.
Right.
Like, if you had, like, a good
And I don't even care. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, it'd be nice if you, like, came with me to events. I don't even care if we go to events.
Like, you know, in, like...
Like, you can just come to my house after
like,
events.
The girl with the dragon tattoo, how, like, the guy has, like, the affair with the lady.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, like, best friends. And she's, like, married. So, like, sometimes, like, they'll sleep together. But, like, they're also just really good friends. That's, like, kind of what you want, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to be, like, friends with someone. Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it's not always about, like, you know, sex and stuff. But it's, like, sometimes it is. And sometimes it's just about, like, being friends.
But, I mean, like, it's more, yes, like, that's just, like, that was more sporadic. Like, the thing I also would like is something that's more regular, so.
Right.
But that's why it's, like, he teased me with it, because it was, like, so regular for a while, and I was like, yes. And then he was like, I just don't want you to, like, want something more. And I was kind of like, no offense, but, like, I don't think I really want something more from you. Like,
right. Like, first off, who do you think you are? And secondly, like, why is that your problem? Like, if I end up, like, if I told you up front, this is what I want, and then I change my mind, like, that's not your problem.
Yeah, which
and, like,
I said
why
to
are
him
you saying,
too.
why are you, like, ending things because you're afraid that I might change how I feel in the future?
I don't even know if that's why he ended things. Like, I don't know. He just would say that, and I was like, no, this is exactly what I want. And then he was like, I probably need some time to see you. And then we got together, like, honestly, it was probably, like, 4 days later. It wasn't, like, that long, but we were seeing each other, like, every other day, essentially. And then he was like, oh, let's not do anything physical. So I was like, okay, we had nights like that before. But the thing that was weird about this night was that we didn't even kiss, which I was kind of like, strange.
Yeah.
So then he was like, I don't know, like a little weird with me, like for a few days. And then he kind of said like, or I like asked him like, so do you not want to like do sexual stuff anymore? And he was like, I don't think so. And I was like, okay. It's like so weird. Like I'm like, okay, well, like why wouldn't you just say something? Like it's so awkward.
Well, maybe he didn't like really know until you like asked him.
I guess. No, he knew.
Or he was like in denial maybe, and then when you straight up asked him, he was like, okay, I guess I'll tell her.
Then it's like embarrassing because then he was like, oh, I really, really like you as a person, so I like tried really hard, and I was like, okay, that's like super offensive.
Yeah, like don't be patronizing.
Like I get that you're like trying to be like nice or like whatever, but you're basically saying, you're essentially saying like I'm so disgusting, but you liked me, so you tried to like force yourself to do these things. And then he's like, no. I was like, you're making me feel like a creep. And he was like, no, it's not that I'm like disgusted by you. And I was like, okay, because it's like kind of how you're saying it, so whatever. So then he's like, I still want to be friends, like blah, blah, blah. I just like, and he was essentially like, I still want to like cuddle and like kiss and stuff. And I'm like, okay. I was like, honestly, like I would be fine with that too. But then we never saw each other again. And so I said to him, like, look, I think it will be fine. Like, it's going to be weird for a while because, like, obviously I feel, like, rejected and it's, like, awkward. Mm-hmm. But I think the only way to, like, get through it is to, like, work through it. Like, we can't just ignore it because then it'll just be awkward whenever we come back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but then he just, like, really was, like, not reaching out to me and stuff. And then I was like, okay. And he was like, I don't know, I just thought maybe you, like, didn't want to talk to me. And I'm like, okay, but again, like, if we don't just, like, try to stay friends the way we were, like,
right,
it's not going to work. So then we were, like, kind of maintaining the friendship type thing for a little bit. And I don't know, we never saw each other. And I would ask him if he wanted to, like, get together or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was saying he was having a really hard time. And I was like, well, maybe if you saw me, like, you might feel a little bit better. And he was like, probably. But then he still, like, wouldn't get together. So I'm like...
Right, but that could also be the mental health stuff.
Yeah, I know.
You never know.
But it's hard. So then, I don't know, I was just kind of like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Because, like, it was like you were saying. It was always, like, a maybe. And, like, me just always, like, having to ask. And I'm like... And he, like, didn't want to make plans because he was like, he feels like he'd have to cancel them. So, like, right. I was just like, this is kind of driving me crazy. Like, this doesn't feel like a great friendship. Like, whatever. I just, like, don't really want to do it anymore. So I essentially told him, like, it wasn't really working out for me. And then he was like, oh. He was kind of, like, I guess upset. And he was like, you just don't want to talk to me anymore or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I just don't like it this way. And then he was like, well, how will you, like, think about this? And I was like, does it even... I was like, he was like, how will you remember us or our time together?
What a weird question.
And I was like...
You're like, I probably won't. Bye.
I
forgot that you existed.
No, I was like, it doesn't matter. And he was like, it matters to me. Like, I'm going to think back on it fondly and that, like, we had a really nice time together, but, like, didn't work out. And I was like, okay, well, it's always, I was like, well, for me, like, it's always going to be, like, tainted by the end. Like, I didn't want things to end this way. Like, you rejected me. You didn't want, like, and then I was kind of just like, you did this. Like, we weren't friends to begin with. Like, we started on a dating site with a pseudo-romantic vibe, and, like, you didn't want to be romantic. Like, he's like, oh, you're saying I should have kept doing something I didn't want to do? And I was like, no, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, you can't expect that we would be, like, great friends because we weren't friends to begin with.
Right. So,
like, it is what it is. And then we had that, and then he was like, now you're just, like, being mean or whatever. And I was like, no, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not going to just, like, lie to you to make you feel good. Like, this is the truth. Like, whatever. So then I tried to reach out to him, like, a week later, you know, to just be like, okay, I guess we could, like, still be friends or whatever. And he was like, what, you just want to, like, act like nothing happened? Like, I guess that conversation where I was, like, mean was the thing that put him over the edge to never want to talk to me again.
Okay.
And then I was, like, really upset about it because I was like, okay, now you just literally don't even want to be friends. And I was kind of like, you're saying that everything we ever went through is, like, BS or nothing, like, compared to the fact that we had one fight that, like, you felt bad about. I don't know.
It's really weird. And that's the thing, right? Like, when, like, I used to always, as, like, when I was younger, think about, like, guys I used to date and wonder, oh, do these people ever still think about me? And I'm like, I'm sure they do, of course. But, like, it'd be kind of cool if you could, like, know all the times that, like, people think about you. You know what I mean? It's kind of, like, interesting to be like, oh, I wonder if that guy that I, like, you know, stayed up all night talking to and then never heard from again. Like, I wonder if he ever thinks about me. And it's like, hey, that girl was cool. Why did I never talk to her again? You know, like, or something. It's just, like, it's interesting. But I feel like as a girl, I feel like I always think, like, oh, yeah, girls always remember all the guys, but guys never think about them. And I'm like, well, obviously that's not true. Like, they must at some point, like, remember people they've dated.
They think about them. Like, when we were in Portland the last time, I met someone on, like, Plenty of Fish, and we hung out. And then we just, like, stayed in touch, and we, like, talk sometimes. But we haven't talked probably in, like, it's probably been, like, almost a year, because I feel like we had maybe, like, talked about how we started this podcast.
Right.
But he actually messaged me, like, last week.
Oh, yeah?
And was just like, hey, how are you? I've been thinking about you.
Yeah. I guess that's true. Like, because, yeah, I've had guys that, like, randomly message me, like, years later and be like, hey, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Marley.
Yeah. So weird.
Yeah, like, they just, like, text you and they're like, hey. But, like, people who aren't scared. Like, like, the people that are scared, it's like, they just, I wonder, do those people ever think about you and then, like you said, think, why didn't I pursue? Because I feel like for us, we've never, well, I did that one time, not pursue that guy, that Canadian guy.
That you've always regretted.
I know, I really do. Because, like...
Yeah. And me with that guy on the mission trip.
But
no,
you pursued him, but you were just too young for him. I mean, like, fairness, you really were too young for him, and that would have been super creepy.
It would have been weird.
Because you were, like, 12 and he was, like, 15.
A 15-year-old. Whatever.
Weirder when he was 17 and you were 14.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, high school freshmen and juniors could date. That's kind of weird, but it happens.
He also could have been a senior at that point, which is, like, creepy.
Whatever. So, but yeah, like, I do remember, like, thinking, like, yeah, kind of what you're saying, like, am I crazy? Did I, like, imagine that connection that we had? Like, I think it's when it comes to, like, when you feel that really strong connection with someone, and then you're like, wow, did I totally misread the situation? Like, am I delusional? Because, like, it's kind of like in that song Amnesia, when they're like, if what we had was real, how could you be fine? Because I'm not fine at all. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, you're like, wait, did I, like, really imagine that? Like, am I crazy? And then you kind of want to just be like to the person, tell me I was crazy. And then they're all like, I'm not going to say that. And I'm like, then what the heck? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
No, like, I think for him, like, he's the type, like, he said, like, now you can just tell everyone that I'm, like, damaged and scared. Like, he said that. So, like...
But he also really didn't want you to talk about him, so...
He didn't want me to talk about him, and there were specific things he didn't want to talk about, which I haven't talked about. So, like...
Well, that's good.
Whatever. But it's, like... I think for him, like, he does a lot of avoidance.
Right.
So... Because then he's, like... Because then we did have one last conversation, and... he was like, I've already explained this. And I was like, but you haven't explained it.
Right.
Like, I was like, you really haven't. Like, you think you have, but you haven't. I was like, you are not being clear. I still have no idea why you don't even want to talk to me ever.
Right.
Like, I was like, you're literally saying that, like, every good time we ever had is nothing compared to, like, I was like, we can become friends again. Like, it'll be pretty easy. Like, just move on. Just realize we had an argument or whatever, and we'll just move on from it. Like, whatever.
Right.
But he was like, no, I don't want to. This isn't good. Or whatever. He's like, I don't want this right now. He's like, and maybe one day I will, but I'm not going to, like, give you false hope. And I was like, okay. But it was hard because, like, you know, at that moment I was like, I did really miss it because we, like, really did get along. And then it's like, it's so weird, like, how... So,
like how quickly
there's,
your relationships can change.
And no, and not even just that, but, like, how to really describe, like, how you get along well with someone or, like, really click.
We can't really describe it.
You can't.
Like
it's,
you
like,
said
so
before, like,
nuanced.
you just vibe well. It's like, yeah, but you can't really be like, oh, yeah, because I say this, then he says this. It's like, yeah, you have to have, like, a similar sense of humor, a similar, like, kind of thought process, and, like, similar, like, wittiness.
Like, we always joked, and this is, like, a weird... I want to tell, like, a couple of stories that are going to seem really, really stupid and fall really flat. But I feel like kind of describe what it's like maybe a little bit. So the one thing that we always, like, joked about was that I would, like, hold his penis for him while he would pee.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it one time, and... It was really weird, and we were laughing, and my hair was down, and I was like, don't pee in my hair. And because I have, like, really long hair, and I was, like, holding his
it's
penis.
not all the way down to your hands, like...
No, but I have to, like, bend forward. I'm, like, bending forward to hold his penis. Well, I guess why was his penis so far down? Now I have to think about it. If I'm standing...
Like, I don't...
Yeah, if he's, like...
Because you were from the side, I guess you should have, like, gone from behind.
Yeah, I came from the side. Anyway, and then I was, like, laughing, so I was, like, bending over. Anyway.
Knee slappers in.
And he's, like... This was the funny part to me, which he didn't necessarily know about, TJ, but he's like, you're squeezing it too tight. And I was just holding it, but I guess you just really got arrested in your hand. I mean, I don't have a penis. I don't usually hold it while I pee, so I did it once. Anyway.
Now you know.
That was just, like, a funny thing of, like, how we would be the kind of people that would, like, do that and find it funny and just...
Like, you were weird, but, like, had funny things that you did.
Yep. And then another thing that was just, like... This is just, like, another thing that's, like, a sweet... Sorry. That's, like, a sweet moment that you kind of, like... It's, like, those kinds of things you like. So, he came over, and he got in my bed, and, like, we would always, like, cuddle. So, he was, like, laying there, and he's like, get over here. Or whatever. So, I go into, like, my little spot, which would be, like... I guess, like, in his armpit, kind of? I don't know. Okay. You know, his, like, arms are on you, and you're, like, on his chest. And then he took my phone out of my pocket, and he was like... Get rid of this thing. And I thought he meant because, like, I have an iPhone and he has, like, an Android. And I was like, why? And he's like, that's where my hand goes. And then he, like, puts his hand in my pocket. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. It's, like, little things like that you're like, oh, those little moments are, like, nice.
Sure.
When you tell someone, it's, like, stupid sounding.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's, like, those are the things you, like, remember and you, like, miss.
Right.
Well, not the penis thing as much. That was more just, like, a way that we, like, clicked. But the little, like, the cuddling nuances and, like, your little jokes, like, you guys have heard the songs that I've written with the girl I babysit for. He is a musically inclined person. He kind of, like, plays a little guitar. And we would always laugh about the jokes. I mean, about the songs and how bad they were. And every time we made a new one, he'd be like, don't sing it, you know. And he'd be like, oh, same old melody. He's like, let me guess how it goes. And then he would, like, essentially sing the song because it's always the same. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cute.
Anyway.
But then things just ended and now you're sad.
I mean, yeah, I definitely missed it. I was, like, really upset about it. Like, I was, like, crying a lot when it happened.
So why did you decide to talk about it today?
But he was crying, too. Oh, well, I mean, I think we had, like, some requests to talk about romance again and, like, relationships, and that
he
was
the love of your life, so...
No. He wasn't the love of my life.
Did you love him?
I mean, I probably loved him. I don't think I was, like, in love with him.
Oh, okay.
But, like...
And how long was your, like, relationship?
I feel like it was actually probably like 6 weeks, so not very long.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 6 months at first.
No.
But no, I feel like...
I mean, we met in like July, but we didn't really start hanging out regularly until like the end of August.
But I feel like you can honestly fall in love with someone in like a night.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I really do believe that. Because, like, I feel like some people you just, like, know. And, like you said, if you're talking every single day, like, think about, like, okay, in the past, like, maybe people would fall in love in, like, 2 months, but they probably only, like, went on a date twice a week, and they didn't, like, text each other in between.
Right. But they would talk on the phone. But
yeah, sometimes.
But you can definitely fall in love really fast. It's just
a matter of whether it's a sustainable kind of
right.
love.
As you learn more about the person, you might be like, oh, never mind. I mean, you can fall in love with someone immediately. But then
yeah, but I mean, like, I don't feel like being in, like, a relatively short relationship that's, like, only a month or even 3 weeks, like, it could be enough time to be really invested. Because sometimes you'll be like, oh my god, you only dated for, like, a month. It's like, yeah, but so what? Like, we talked every single day. We were together all the time. Like, that's a lot can happen in a month.
For, like, feeling broken up about it?
Yeah, like, for feeling brokenhearted or, like, whatever it is, like...
They say, like, it's what do they say? Like, you should take half the amount of time to get over someone as the time you were together.
No, I think they say for every year that you're together, it takes 1 month to get over the person.
Okay.
So if you're together for 5 years, it takes you 5 months. So if you're together for 6 weeks, it takes you, like, a day.
6 weeks takes you, like, probably, like, 2 weeks, because... Oh, no.
No, it definitely wouldn't.
Okay, whatever. Maybe
it would take you like a week, a little less than a week.
Which, like, I feel like that's kind of true. Like, to get over someone, I'm never over anybody. I am like...
That's so sad. Well, you really need some closure, I guess.
I don't know. I guess for me, like, you can have closure with someone, but, like, I think it's actually more just because I'm, like, a very forgiving person. And, like,
but I mean, there's, like, definitely people you've dated in the past that you would never date again. That's what I think it means to be, like, over them. Like, you wouldn't, like, you'd be like, no, I'm not, like, interested in them anymore.
Yeah, but when people break up with me, that pretty much doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see why. That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe even people that I've ended it with, I'd be willing to date again.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much always, and not always, but, like, oftentimes, like, so the people that I've been really into who, like, it wasn't reciprocated or they ended it, I probably would still be willing to date them. And it probably wouldn't work out. I mean, obviously it doesn't work out for a reason.
Right.
But, like, I probably would be, like, down.
You never know. You can hear him.
You don't know, I guess. But, I mean, with that thing, I feel like I wasn't, like, so broken up about it for so long. I was more upset when that Brian guy ghosted me after I only talked to him for a week and met him once.
Yeah.
That one was a little weird. But I always say, like, I'm like, that's because he was, like, the first person in a long time that I was, like, genuinely excited about.
Right.
Because he was the kind of person that I was, like, that I felt like was good enough for me. So.
He met my level of impossible standards.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's probably why he was like, oh, no thanks.
He's short, though.
Oh, so not quite perfect. You're going to compromise on height?
He was also an alcoholic, so, like...
So what is your checklist?
Well, he was sober.
Oh,
he was
a recovering alcoholic. Okay, well, that's different.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I wouldn't hold that. Yes, obviously, like, people can relapse, and it's pretty common, but there's also a lot of people who are recovering addicts and, like, do have a very good life.
And there's also a lot of people who are alcoholics who
never get treatment.
Yeah, who, like,
but I don't think I would ever let the fact that someone's, like, a recovering addict keep me from dating them.
Yeah.
Unless
what about
like,
they were a reformed Nazi?
Well, reformed? Like, actually reformed? I mean, I definitely would have dated Ed Norton from American History X. But he was pretty jacked after prison.
Character. He
was
jacked even before he went to prison.
True. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're reformed, you're reformed. I don't know. Like, it's like I've told you before, you can't judge people by the worst thing they've ever done. Because then everyone would be considered a terrible person.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, and if they've actually changed, but it's like, it's hard to truly change. But if they truly did, then I think, yes, you should give them another chance. Like, what is forgiveness about?
I agree. But, yeah, anyway.
Or, like, yeah. In this book I just was listening to.
Like, what was that? What is that, Even that other saying that's like, you don't have to do what you've always done.
Yeah.
For changing yourself,
You don't have to be who you've always been.
Yeah.
You can be someone else.
True.
That was like the card I sent you.
Oh.
When you were depressed. No, so in this book I was listening to, like, there's this guy, and he was, like, convicted of, like, possessing child pornography. But then he basically, like, when he got out, he, like, assumed the identity of his cousin who, like, died. And then supposedly, like, went on to, like, lead a good life. And the people in the town were like, can we really blame him for, like, he made his mistakes, but then he's, like, trying to make a better life for himself. Turns out he actually was still a rapist, so it wasn't really... he didn't really change.
Oh, so he was still, like, a child molester or whatever?
Yeah, he was, like... It was weird. It was, like, him and his wife were, like, a team of rapist murderers, so she, like, basically was the murderer, but she, like, used him to, like, rape girls and then would, like, murder them.
How old were the girls?
Teenagers.
Was that the age of the child
They didn't really say, so I don't know. But, like, I was like, okay, well, it was nice that they were open-minded in the first place to say if he had changed and made his mistakes in the past, like, they should be forgiven. But then, obviously, in this case, it wasn't actually reformed. But, like, maybe they could have been. Who knows?
Yeah, that's
so I was like,
interesting book. What was it called? Oh, you listened to it.
It's part of that series I listened to.
Oh.
But they, like, switch narrators, and it's, like, actually really annoying because... The girl that narrates now, first of all, she sounds like Siri. Like, it sounds like a robot half the time. And I'm like, is this even a person? And she pronounces B-A-U, the bow. So she's always like, and then they went to the bow at Quantico. And I'm like, it's the B-A-U, not the bow. Like, something. At first I was like, what is she saying?
Is it a robot?
No, it's a person, I'm pretty sure.
That's ridiculous. Someone got paid and they don't, like, make them pronounce the words properly?
Like, they didn't know it's the B-A-U. Then I'm like, that's, like, really embarrassing. Like, of course, the other lady said Yosemite instead of Yosemite and stuff. But I'm like, they say the B-A-U probably, like, that's where they work. So they say it, like, probably at least 100 times per book. And I'm like, nobody caught this? And was like, oh, it's actually the B-A-U, not the bow. They're like, we have to get the bow.
What if we found out that the people who work there actually call it the bow?
I don't think they do. But maybe...
And all these years, Criminal Minds was wrong.
And, like, every James Patterson book I've listened to about the FBI and, like, Mindhunters and everything else. I don't know. I feel like...
But in Mindhunter, they don't even have it yet. They have the BSU. But do they call it that, or do they just call it behavioral science?
Yeah, they probably don't call it the BSU.
BSU.
But I don't know. It's just weird. Because I literally, like, the first, like, 10 times you said it, I'm like, the what? I'm like, what is she saying? And I'm like, oh my god, she means the B-A-U. Like, I didn't even click in my mind. But, yeah, it's annoying. I miss the old narrator.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
even though the old narrator was kind of annoying because she would always make the teenage girls, like, really whiny. Like, the FBI agent has a daughter, so she'd always be like, Mom, wait! Like, always, like, whining about everything, but at least she had, like, personality. This girl, like, just sounds like literally a robot. It's really weird.
Like, literally a robot. Okay, so...
Like, literally a robot.
So, should we save the rest of this for next week?
Yeah, but we should probably do our movies still, because we're going to see more movies.
So, the segment formerly known as Weight Watchers?
Uh-huh. I didn't go to Weight Watchers. Did you?
I went today, and I was down 0.2.
Nice. Simba liked that.
Thanks.
Is it because he ate all your food?
And then, what's popping at the movies?
So, what's popping at the movies? We saw Bombshell.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a weird Matrix glitch experience while we were there.
Oh, yeah, that was so weird.
It was so weird. We were, like, had ordered our popcorn ahead of time. And then, like, they were taking a long time to deliver it to our seats, which is, like, a thing that you can do. So we were like, let's just go get the popcorn because, like, the movie's about to start. So we, like, get up and we walk out of the movie theater to the concession stand. And we're like, oh, we're here to, like, pick up our order. And they're like, oh, did they bring it to you? And we're like, no. And they're like, yeah, I think she just brought it to you. And we're like, oh, we didn't see anyone. Like, we just walked down the only, like,
we're like,
hallway. So,
we're like, we just came. Maybe, like, she passed us, but we didn't even see anyone.
Yeah, like, we didn't see anyone walking past. And then, like, she comes back out. So then the guy starts, like, getting us a popcorn. And then the girl, like, comes out. And she's like, oh, are you Jen? And we're like, no, Jessica. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I gave your popcorn to, like, a lady, to a girl. There was, like, a girl in there. And we're like, oh, maybe our mom. And she's like, I don't know, there was like a girl and she had like a blanket with like animals on
No.
it.
She goes, there was a girl and she was like sitting there and she said that like you went to the bathroom and I was like, oh. She's like, and then there was like another girl sitting next to her, but that girl like left as I was coming in and I was like, we're like, oh. And I was like, well, did the woman have like maybe our mom? And she was like, oh, what was she wearing? I was like, I'm not sure. She's like, was she wearing like slippers or Uggs? And I was like, probably. And I'm like, she has like gray hair. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And then she's like,
but there was like another girl with her, and she had like
no, and she goes, I was like, was it us? And she's like, I don't know. And then she's like, she had a blanket, and we were like, oh. She's like, it had like animals on it, and then we were like, oh yeah, that's us.
And I was like, wait, I have a blanket with animals, and I'm like, did you see us sitting in there? Because we were out here, and I'm like, that's so weird. Like, were we sitting there and you delivered popcorn and then somehow we glitched and we came out here because we thought you didn't deliver popcorn? But basically, she was just saying she came in from the other side of the aisle and she saw us leaving as she brought the popcorn. Yes. But the way she said it really sounded like the girl with the animal blanket was sitting next to the person she delivered the popcorn to. And I'm like, but that's me! And I'm not sitting there, I'm standing here.
I know. And the fact that she kept calling Mom a girl.
Yeah.
I was like,
she's
okay,
like a 55-year-old lady.
An elderly woman.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was super weird, but whatever. We ended up getting our popcorn. Although later we did have an issue because when we went to refill, the concession stand had already closed. And I was like, if you're going to close the concession stand before the movies that are running are out, you should warn the people who might refill their popcorn. Because we could have gone out earlier.
Yeah, because I feel like there were movies that started later. And I'm like...
It was like 8:15 and they like closed it. I was like, that's not even like a late time. But whatever. So
annoying. Especially because I told you at like 8 o'clock to get more popcorn if you just gone when I asked.
Work too, Jess. So we saw Bombshell. I thought it was kind of boring.
I liked it.
Jess liked it.
Why did you think it was boring? Because it's kind of slow, I guess.
I feel like it could, it was kind of boring. I feel like it could have been, I just feel like it could have been better. Like, I don't know. I didn't really feel like there was much of a bombshell. Like, it was all just kind of like.
Well, I think the bombshell was when because I guess it's also different because, like, the story was very public, so you already, like, kind of know about it.
Yeah. I didn't know all of it. And then it said in the movie at the end, like... Well, the part that was upsetting. So basically it's about, like, Fox News and how, like, what was he, the CEO?
Roger Ailes.
Yeah. He was, like, the owner or something.
He was, like, the director of the network or something.
Yeah, the network head, whatever.
Yeah.
Because the Murdochs, like, own it.
Yeah.
So he, like, was like, harassing and, like, molesting his staff or whatever. And he was just obviously, like, super sexist and gross. But, it was just interesting because at the end, what was, like, so upsetting is, like, he does end up getting fired, but then they're, like, at the end of the movie, they show, like, oh, they paid the victims, like, $50 million in settlement, and then it's, like, and Roger Ailes' severance was $65 million.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, really? So, like, this is, like, total disgusting pig ends up getting, like, more money than even these women who he, like, victimized. Yeah. So it's, like, he really obviously didn't suffer all that much. Which, like, yes, he suffered embarrassment. And, like, he didn't get to work anymore. But I'm also, like, ooh, la-di-da. Like, I don't know.
Well, that was hard for him because in the movie, at least if it was, like, an accurate portrayal, like, they made it seem like he really was passionate about it.
Well, yes, so, he was. So, like, obviously it's still hard on him. But I'm also, like, okay, like... not, like, it's obviously hard on these women, and, like, you're so gross, and, like, it's just annoying. And then, but then they also said in the movie, like, that, so who was the lady? Gretchen, what's her last name?
Carlson.
Oh, yeah, Gretchen Carlson. And I guess she was, like, the one who really, like, spearheaded the lawsuit, and she, like, had, like, recorded things. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm assuming it is, like, recorded conversations, and, like, basically really done her homework to make sure, like, that she had proof for when she finally went to sue the network and to sue him.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the movie, they're like, part of the settlement was that they wouldn't, like, discuss it. So then I'm like, by making this movie, are they, like, going against their settlement? I don't know. Like, it was kind of weird, I thought.
Yeah, well...
Maybe that's why it's, like, a bombshell, because they're like, you said we couldn't talk about it, but now, like, we made this movie about it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, but then in the movie, they had her character say, "We'll see." So she might have just been like, I don't need this money. Like, she might have found that it would be more lucrative for her to just talk about it and to go
Like,
against...
maybe she didn't take the settlement, you're saying?
Well, no, in the movie, she signed the paper, so I don't know if she really took the settlement or not, but she signed it, but then they were like, it means you can't ever talk about it, and she said, like, we'll see. Like, kind of being like I'm going to do what I want.
Open herself up to a lawsuit.
Yeah, because maybe she would be willing to, like, do that and felt like she would probably... Or she'd be willing to just not... Like, to essentially pay back that settlement money. I mean, I don't know what kind of trouble you would get in for that sort of thing.
I don't know either. It was really interesting, though. But overall, I felt like the movie, like, it just kind of moved at, like, a weird pace, and I feel like it could have been better, but it was alright.
Yeah, and then, like, it was interesting with the whole Megyn Kelly thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure if they wanted to show everything happening with, like, the Trump comments to show that she was just kind of, like, wanting to get out of the spotlight, and that's why she was, like, not as interested in disclosing, like, her experiences.
Right.
Or if it was just, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
It was, and it definitely made you, like, feel more for them, like, for Megyn Kelly and stuff. Because, like, even in, like, the whole reason Trump went after her was because she, like, was asking him the tough questions, like, at the debate and stuff. So I was like, okay, it makes you feel more, like, sympathetic towards... Generally, I'm not super sympathetic towards Fox News hosts, but, like... So if you hold that same view, it's not like you would be like, oh my God, I hate Fox News and that's why I can't see this movie because these are all terrible people. Because, like, obviously there's still, like, women who suffered through a lot of stuff. So, like, you can still find common ground, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean...
It's sad, though, and it is messed up, and, like, it is gross. And I wonder how prevalent that stuff still is. Because I feel like I've never experienced... I mean, I've experienced sexual harassment at the workplace, but primarily from, like, coworkers, never from, like... a boss, and like, I've never worked in, like, a boys club, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
So you just wonder, like, how prevalent is that stuff still today? Like, probably terrifyingly prevalent.
Yeah, I think it is.
But you just, I don't know, because that's not the type of industry that I'm in.
Right. Well,
so.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of, like, just regular, like, sexism and, like, the whole boys club thing, which, like, I guess I think it's very prevalent in, like, academia. So if you were to, like, go more into that field,
yeah,
like in
maybe
college.
in science and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any field, honestly, like, look at college professors.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think, like, the whole, like, quid pro quo of, like, asking for sexual favors, I feel like that it still probably happens, but it might be happening less because people might be more willing to come forward about it now.
Right. So
yeah,
that's probably true.
But yeah.
So messed up. Guys some people are so gross.
Yeah, when we continue this episode next week, we'll talk about some real creeps that we've known.
Okay. And then I saw another movie too this week. Oh, well, what are your thumbs for Bombshell?
I'd give it like a 3.5 up. I really liked it.
I'll give it like a thumb up. It's pretty good, but kind of boring. So the other movie that I saw was Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker. It was alright. It was long. I feel like all of them are really long, and some of the parts were also kind of slow. But overall, I liked it. It was interesting. I thought it was fine. There's a one character that Finn really liked. His name's Babu Frick, and he's just, like, funny because he's, like, this little tiny, like,
the bird
hacker
thing?
guy. No, he's not a bird. He's, like, a little lizard thing. I don't know. But, like, he's just funny. So at one part they have to, like, reset, like, C-3PO's program because he has found this secret message, but it's in Sith, and he's, like, not allowed to translate from Sith because it's, like, against his programming. So they had to, like, reset all that, but by doing so they, like, wiped his whole memory. Aww. So, like, he, like, woke up and he was all like, hi, I'm C-3PO, and then they're all, like, kind of sad, like, he doesn't remember us, and Babu Frick's like, yay, because it, like, worked. Like, they, like, did what they were trying to do. So it's just, like, funny. And then, like, later in the movie, they're, like, waiting for support from rebel ships, like, not actually part of the, like, rebellion, but, like, they're hoping that when they send out a distress signal, like, people will come and help them, just, like, you know.
When does this movie take place?
This movie takes place, like, it's the most recent.
So it takes place, so I don't get it, like, didn't they at some point defeat the bad guys?
Yes, they defeated the bad guys, but then the bad guys came back again.
Oh.
So then they had to re-defeat them again. So anyway, but then when they're like
Sith,
waiting,
like opposite of Jedi.
yeah.
So there was like Return of the Jedi, and then there was Return of the Sith.
I think it was like Rise of the Sith, but that was before. That was in like the Phantom Menace ones.
But then essentially, there was some time in between where we don't know what happened, but essentially what happened was Rise of the Sith. Re-Rise of the Sith.
Sure, yeah.
Stupid.
But it's not really the Sith. It's like, yeah, I guess, because Kylo Ren is sort of like a Sith. I don't know. But anyway, so then later when they're waiting...
And that's like the daughter of Princess Leia and Han Solo. I mean, the son.
Yeah. The son.
So stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah, but he redeems
So
himself.
now they have to get the bad guys again.
It's interesting because spoilers if you haven't watched it. So basically, Kylo Ren is the son of Han Solo and Princess Leia. And he was like going to be a great Master Jedi. But he went towards the dark side because he like loved his grandpa, Darth Vader. But then...
Wasn't his grandpa dead?
Yeah, but he like called to him. I don't know. He was very angsty. So he's like, you don't understand me. If only my grandpa were alive. You know? So, whatever.
Okay.
But basically, he really turned evil because he woke up and his Jedi teacher, Luke, was about to kill him. But that's because Luke had sensed the dark forces in him. And, like, was like, I'm not going to be able to defeat him later. But
ironic.
Yeah, so it's kind of Oedipal in a way. So then Rey, who is the Jedi that they're training, turns out she is actually the daughter of Emperor Palpatine, or the granddaughter, rather. And he is, like, a Sith Lord. So she came from Siths and became a Jedi, and Kylo came from Jedi and became a Sith.
So what's the Rise of Skywalker?
So she just ends up calling herself Skywalker because she finally learns that she's Rey Palpatine, but he's like an evil, murderous emperor. So she defeats him, and then someone asks her, like, who are you? And she's like, Rey. And they're like, Rey who? And she's like, Rey Skywalker. So now she's the Rise of Skywalker.
And she's the first female Jedi or something?
No, there's female Jedis before.
Oh.
But anyway, so later when they're waiting for the rebel ships to, like, come, like, they're all, like, losing hope, and they're like, I guess no one's coming. But then the ship goes in, and Babu Frick's in there, and he's like, hey! And then they, like, help, and all these other ships are there. It's just, like, really cute, because he's really funny. So.
But I just don't get why they always have to be called the rebel ships. Oh, I guess because, like, we never had a time where they were just in charge, and we then saw, or
right, it's like they
kept
kind of winning, but then other bad people would rise up against them.
Were the bad people called the rebels?
The bad people? No.
Oh.
They were like the...
Because wasn't there a point where, like,
the
good people were like, oh, so it's
but
just,
then
like,
they,
corrupt?
like, got corrupt, and then
Okay.
the rebels, like, fought against them, but then it's like they've never actually fully won. They just kept, like, winning the battle, so to speak. And then, but new people would take over as
so
bad.
Still always bad. Still
yeah,
always
the bad people would change form. And I don't know everything about Star Wars, so from what I'm saying is not right, forgive me. I've only seen the movies, like, once, and I've never even seen the, like, Anakin trilogy, so...
Oh, you haven't?
I've seen, like, half of it, but I've never seen all three.
But did you see that part that Joe always talks about?
Which one?
Like, whatever. That weird...
Like, are you an angel or whatever? I don't know.
His weird voice where he's like... Yippee! Woo! I'm flying!
I mean, he's being Jar Jar Binks. Oh, well, that's like the pod race. Yeah, I've seen that
he was being
one.
Jar Jar Binks?
No, at part of it, he's being Jar Jar Binks. But then, he's being Anakin, I think. But that's like the pod race. I have seen that one. That's like the Phantom Menace. But I haven't
seen... pod racing or whatever.
Yeah. The whole movie's weird. It's like literally all just about one pod race. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know what a pod race is, so...
Well, whatever.
Cool. So...
Also, I saw a thing that was on Facebook, like, who should voice Baby Yoda? Wrong answers only. So who do you think would be a good wrong answer to voice Baby Yoda? I was thinking, like, John Leguizamo. Wallace Shawn. I thought that would be a good fit. And I was like, Ozzy Osbourne would be, like, good. Or, like, the lady who plays Kyle's mom on South Park. But Baby Yoda's so cute, and they're bringing a Baby Yoda to Build-A-Bear. So if you feel the need for a Baby Yoda plushie, you can build a Yoda at Build-A-Bear. Coming soon. Not sure when.
Nice. Yep. Oh, thumbs?
I'll give it, like, a thumb up. It was fine.
Same as Bombshell?
Half a thumb to a thumb up. I mean, it's entertaining, and if you like Star Wars, it's fine. But it's, like, predictable, and some of the parts are stupid, but Babu Frick's cool, so. Babu Frick.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, long episode.
Yeah, it's still long. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Check us out on social media at Deerfoot Sisters or Deerfoot Podcast. Dear Feet Podcast, actually, from Facebook. And deerfootsisters.com. I think you can still go there.
As long as
I don't know.
domain didn't expire.
All right. We're the Deerfoot Sisters, and we're prancing away.